जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की, भक्ति देवी की जय। समवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Anant. I'm sorry. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimati.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashtakari Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivaswati Gaura Uttamanda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare. Thank you, Mother Pindauli. Hare Krishna, Kaivalya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Prabhu.
Sorry, Hare Krishna Mataji. You want me to read the shloka?
Yes, Prabhu, sure.
Okay. Nayatra shoko najara. So sorry, I didn't say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So let us recite it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasa tato jaya madiraye nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki. So we are reading today Canto 2, Chapter 2, entitled The Lord in the Heart, and text number 27. Nayatra shoko najara namratyur nartin chodvega vite kutaschit yatachit tatodah kripaya nindam vinda duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat. Nayatra shoko najara namratyur nartinar chodvega rite kutasya yatachitta todah kripaya nindam vinda duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat. Nayatra shoko najara namratyur nartinar chodvega ritukutaschit yatachitta todah kripaya nindam vinda duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat. Please recite.
Nayatra soko najara namrutyur nartir nachodvega prite kritaschet yachitta toda kripaya nidam vidam durana dukkha prabhavanu darsadi.
Nayatra shoko najara namrityur narirna kodvega rite kutachit yachitta todhak payanidam vidam duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat.
Hare Krishna. Nayatra shoko najara namrityur nati nachurte gurite kutashi यचिचेत् ततो अधः कृत्या अनिदं विदां दुरन्तदुःखा प्रभावानुदर्शनात्.
न यत्र शोको न जरा न मृत्युर्नातिर्न चोद्वेगरिते कुतश्चित् यच्चेत्ततो दाकृपया निदं विदां दुरन्तदुःख प्रभवानुदर्शनात्.
Anyone else? I'll read the verse. Nayatra soko nazarana mrityu nati nachudvegarite kutasche yachittato dakripayani vidam duranta dukha prabhavanu darshanat. Go word for word. Na, never. Yatra, there are. Sokaha, bereavement. Na, nor. Jara, old age. Na, nor. Mrityuhu, death. Na, nor. Artihi, pains. Na, nor. Cha, also. Udvegaha, anxieties. Rite, save and accept. Utashchit, sometimes. Yat, because of. Chit, consciousness. Tataha, therefore. Adaha, compassion. Kripaya, out of heartfelt sympathy. Anidam vidam, of those who are ignorant of the process of devotional service. Duranta, unsurpassable. Dukha, misery. Pravava, repeated birth and death. Anudarshanat, by successive experience. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. In that planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties. Save that sometimes, due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. Purport. Foolish men of materialistic temperament do not take advantage of successive authorized knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is authorized and is acquired not by experiment, but by authentic statements of the Vedic literatures, explained by bona fide authorities. Simply by becoming an academic scholar, one cannot understand the Vedic statements. One has to approach the real authority who has received the Vedic knowledge by disciplic succession, as clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 2nd verse. Lord Krishna affirmed that the system of knowledge as explained in Bhagavad Gita was explained to the sun god, and the knowledge descended by disciplic succession from the sun god to his son Manu, and from Manu to King Ikshvaku, the forefather of Lord Ramchandra. And thus, the system of knowledge was explained down the line of great sages, one after another. But in due course of time, the authorized succession was broken, and therefore, just to reestablish the true spirit of knowledge, the Lord again explained the same knowledge to Arjuna, who was a bona fide candidate for understanding due to his being a pure devotee of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita, as it was understood by Arjuna, is also explained in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 12 to 13. But there are many foolish men who do not follow in the footsteps of Arjuna in understanding the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. They create instead their own interpretations, which are foolish as they themselves, and thereby only help to put a stumbling block on the path of real understanding, misdirecting the innocent followers who are less intelligent, or the sutras. It is said that one should become a Brahmana before one can understand the Vedic statements. And this stricture is as important as the stricture that no one shall become a lawyer who has not qualified himself as a graduate. Such a stricture is not an impediment in the path of progress for anyone and everyone, but it is necessary for an unqualified understanding of a particular science. Vedic knowledge is misinterpreted by those who are not qualified Brahmanas. A qualified Brahmana is one who has undergone strict training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The Vedic wisdom guides us to understanding our relation with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and to acting accordingly in order to achieve the desired result of returning home back to Godhead. But materialistic men do not understand this. They want to make a plan to become happy in a place where there is no happiness. For false happiness, they try to reach other planets, either by Vedic rituals or by spacecraft. But they should know for certain that any amount of materialistic adjustment for becoming happy in a place which is meant for distress cannot benefit the misguided man, because, after all, the whole universe with all its paraphernalia will come to an end after a certain period. Then all plans of materialistic happiness will automatically come to an end. The intelligent person therefore makes a plan to return home back to Godhead. Such an intelligent person surpasses all the pangs of material existence, like birth, death, disease, and old age. He is actually happy because he has no anxieties of material existence. But as a compassionate sympathizer, he feels unhappiness for the suffering materialistic men. And thus he occasionally comes before the materialistic men to teach them the necessity of going back to Godhead. All the bona fide acharyas preach this truth of returning home back to Godhead and warn men not to make a false plan for happiness in a place where happiness is only a myth. In that planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties, save that sometimes, due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savaryutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakhanvitamsa Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Sagatpate Gopesa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataruvesya Kripa Sindhubhyo Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So before speaking on this verse, I would like to take blessings and permission from all the assembled devotees here in Zoom land. Okay. Lavali Prabhu, do I have your permission to speak on this verse?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Go
so
ahead.
much. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity also for my own group listen. So today we are still hearing from Sukadev Goswami on the process, two different ways of reaching the spiritual state. So just a quick recap. Where are we in this verse? So in Canto 1, at the end of Canto 1 and chapter 19, the last chapter, we saw when Parikshit Maharaj, after all those that the curse thing happens, and Parikshit Maharaj he greets the assembled sages there before Sukadev Goswami appears in the scene, and he asks them question like, please tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, and specifically of those who are just about to die. So immediately after that verse, then Sukadev Goswami appears in the scene, and there is like some verses glorifying how Sukadev Goswami was like very transcendental. And then again, after properly greeting Sukadev Goswami, then Parikshit Maharaj again repeats his question. He says like, please let me know what a man should hear, chant, and remember and worship, and also what he should not do. And so from then, Canto in chapter, and then here in Canto, this chapter starts, Sukadev Goswami, he starts way back from like how even Lord Brahma was forgetful. That means like we should not trust ourselves. And then he goes on saying like, we may think like Vedas might help us, reading Vedas is the ultimate thing. And then Sukadev Goswami says like, even the Vedas, the sound vibration might be bewildering, even to Lord Brahma, what to speak of us. And we saw in like couple weeks ago, it's already a couple of weeks, the Charachandra Prabhu explained very nicely like how the Vedic Vedas or the Vedic sound vibration can also be bewildering. He gave the answer from Canto 1, chapter 5, quoting all those verses. And then here also in this proportion, Srila Prabhupada hints us to chapter 242. No, not in this. Vedavada Ratas. And then Sukadev Goswami again continues to explain like, so how the enlightened person should act in the beginning of this chapter. And he goes on, he starts saying about first compares to Lord Brahma, and then goes to Vedas, like how Vedas can be bewildering, and then he goes to the Paramatma feature, like Maharaji Gaurangi in the first verse of this chapter, he said about all those three features of knowing the absolute truth, like Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan feature. So here in this chapter, Sukadev Goswami starts around verse 5 or 6, he starts saying about the Paramatma feature, like how you should be, one should like, whoever enlightened, who wants the enlightenment, they should start focusing on the Lord inside their heart. And then he explains like how the Paramatma inside our heart is, like how he looks and how the size, even 8 inches, something like that, right? And then further in other verses, like 14, 15 verses, he goes to the, he says then, if someone can't meditate or focus on Paramatma feature of the Lord, then that person, like who's grossly material, can, he should meditate upon the universal form. And then few verses we saw like how you can think of all this material manifestation as the universal universal form of the Lord. And in Canto 1, we already read that about the universal form of the Lord. And then from verse 15 onwards, he states to instruct, he starts us to instruct about those who desire to live. That was like kind of for in all circumstances now. And from 15th verse, he says like, those who desire to live, what should they do? And these, in the beginning of the verse, he doesn't say there is like two specific ways to reach the spiritual sky. So he immediately starts like the indirect way. That is what we are reading in today's verse also. The indirect way is like gradual process of going from different lokas. To make it easier, Srila Prabhupada even published that small book, Easy Journey to All the Planets. And this is like little same thing. He put it in a like easy language, in a small booklet. So yes, in yesterday's verse, Sukadev Goswami said how one goes to Brahmaloka. Right? And then when the yogi reaches this, at the time of final devastation of the complete universe, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he lives for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be this many years. I can't even see the numbers. So that means it's not easy process. Gradually going all those planets, and then when you reach to where at the time of Ananta, now the what was that? The devastation. They're like this is the occasional devastation where you that yogi can see all those universes being burned, and then he has to again leave from there to Satyaloka using their airplanes. And then in today's verse, that yogi, Sukadeva Goswami is taking us to Satyaloka, where there is neither bereavement nor old age nor death. That means like we shouldn't even, we shouldn't get confused here, like Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravitan, or we saw that verse. That means like there is death in every planet except Vaikuntha or Golok Vrindavan. Yeah, but here Sukadeva Goswami is saying there is neither bereavement nor old age nor death. That means like we can't imagine how many, like we saw that years, how many years you live, like immeasurable. That means it's not that there is no death or old age. Like it reminds me of when Hiranyakasipu was asking for the boon from Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma said, like, I can't give you immortality. Even I will die. I get old, I'll die. So I can't give that one. He says that means, but we can't conceive it. Like for a small creature, like a very small bug or the insect, whatever, that gets birth within a like small time frame of like during night, we can see some flies or bugs, they get birth, they finish all the process, they reproduce, and in the morning they will be like all done, their life cycle is done. So similar, that bug can't even imagine like human can live this long. Similarly, we also can't conceive that thing like there is death or old age in Satyaloka. And so, and he says, yeah, there is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties. And then another contrast point here, Srila Prabhupada is writing, save that sometimes, due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. Okay. So that means there are no anxieties except for the feeling of compassion. And we can relate it to Srila Prabhupada also. Like Srila Prabhupada could have easily stayed in Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan, right? Like doing nice bhajan, kirtan, like his own spiritual upliftment. But he didn't do that. At the age of 69, 70, he went through all those difficulty, heart attack, that long travel, sickness, all those things, and didn't know anyone in US. He traveled. He came here because of that compassion. There was no anxiety for him in Vrindavan. He could have easily stayed there. He came due to that feeling of compassion. Right? Let's read Srila Prabhupada's purport. Foolish men of materialistic temperament do not take advantage of successive authorized knowledge. The Vedic knowledge is authorized and is acquired not by experiment, but by authentic statement of the Vedic literatures explained by bona fide authorities. Simply by becoming an academic scholar, one cannot understand the Vedic statements. One has to approach the real authority who has received the Vedic knowledge by disciplic succession, as clearly explained in Bhagavad Gita 4.2. Evam parampara praptam. Lord Krishna affirmed that the system of knowledge as explained in the Bhagavad Gita was explained to Sun God and the knowledge descended by disciplic succession from the Sun God to his son Manu and from Manu to King Ikshvaku, the forefather of Lord Ramchandra. And thus the system of knowledge was explained down the line of great sages one after another. But in due course of time, the authorized succession was broken. And therefore, just to reestablish the true spirit of the knowledge, the Lord again explained the same knowledge to Arjuna, who was a bona fide candidate for understanding due to his being a pure devotee of the Lord. Okay, Lord. Okay, so here Srila Prabhupada is taking us back to the disciplic succession. The time and again, he focuses on the disciplic succession. And when talking about disciplic succession, that the many other controversial points also come in play, like the Ritvik philosophy and all. But here, Srila Prabhupada is clearly saying it should be by disciplic succession. One has to approach the real authority who has received the Vedic knowledge by disciplic succession. And then for this, I mean, once one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples asked Srila Prabhupada, like saying, like, you know, like to have the association of a spiritual master constantly is not practical. So one of the questions he asks is like, we are reading your books, we're following your books. That means we are following you, right? So do we need to have a like guru? And I just like mix little bit words, but not this exact word, but he meant to say like reading Srila Prabhupada's book should be enough. Like, why should we have a living guru? And then Srila Prabhupada practically pulled his ear and then said like, the books cannot do this. We need a living guru. Reprimand.
So,
right? And there is someone who is speaking.
We all have come.
Okay. And then let's read for Bhagavad Gita, as it was understood by Arjuna, is also explained, but there are explained in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, 12th to 13th verse. But there are many foolish men who do not follow in the footsteps of Arjuna in understanding the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. how in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, 12 to 13 verse, the verse is Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram. Are you going to read the verse? Let's read that verse real quick. Unmute yourself first. You're muted, my mother.
Param Brahma, Arjuna Vacha, Param Brahma, Parandhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Sashvatam Divyam, Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. Is that on?
Yes.
Ahostvam Rishya Sarve Devashir Narada Tata Asito Devalo Vyasho Swayam Chaiva Bhavishi.
Read the translation.
Arjuna said, there are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring to me. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada meant that, but there are many foolish men who do not follow in the footsteps of Arjuna in understanding the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. They create instead their own interpretations. Srila Prabhupada frequently condemns, who was that president, Prime Minister or President of India, Ramakrishna? Was it Ramakrishna? No.
Dr. Radhakrishna.
Radhakrishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah. So he constantly like he scolds him like how someone interprets the understanding of Bhagavad Gita to something like what is that? Not Lord Krishna. Like surrender yourself not to Lord Krishna, but the unborn Krishna or something like that interpretation. They create instead their own interpretations, which are as foolish as they themselves, and thereby only help to put a stumbling block on the path of real understanding, misdirecting the innocent followers who are less intelligent or the Sudras. It is said that one should become a Brahmana before one can understand the Vedic statements. And this stricture is as important as the stricture that no one shall become a lawyer who has not qualified himself as a graduate. Such a stricture is not an impediment in the path of progress for anyone and everyone, but it is necessary for an unqualified understanding of a particular science. Vedic knowledge is misinterpreted by those who are not qualified Brahmanas. A qualified Brahmana is one who has undergone strict training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So here Srila Prabhupada is focusing us again to develop that qualities to become a Brahmana. And then there's 4 regulatory principles, which we as the follower of Srila Prabhupada, we follow the 4 regulatory principles. Once he said like following the 4 regulatory principles doesn't make you a bhakta or a devotee. It will make you a human, a good human, or in a sense a Brahmana. Following these 4 regulatory principles will bring us to the platform of mode of goodness, which will eventually, after like deliberate practice, will make us, we get qualified to be a Brahmana. Then only we can understand the science of self-realization. So a qualified Brahmana is one who has undergone strict training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Even today, there are so many people who already know that we shouldn't do all those things. People are like, they like to chant, but they don't want to follow these 4 religious principles. It's too much for them. It's not unpractical for some people. Like they say, like, no, like as if we can't survive without those things. There should be some strict training under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, and for that, King Rishabdev to his sons, he says, like, what is this human life for? What is that? Tapo Divyam. We have to have that austerity. If we don't have that austerity voluntarily, and then we will be made to do the austerity. And I remember one lecture from Radheshyam Prabhu is saying, like, if you don't want to wake up early in the morning for chanting your rams or doing devotional services, and then you will get in such a circumstances that you have to get up early in the morning. Like maybe you get a job, you have to get up early in the morning, right? Or I remember, like, when we were like in high school, that time there was like this petroleum scarcity. So the people had to get up early, like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and they have to stay on the queue to get like 2 gallon or 3 gallon of petroleum, like getting up early in the morning. So I meant the point is, like, when we don't do volunteer austerity, and then we will be made to do it anyhow. And this ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada often quotes saying, this is a institution to produce brahmanas, because the civilization nowadays is getting headless. There's no head, all becoming sudras. No one is interested in even agriculture and cow protection, which is the Vaishya Svabhava, third Vaishya Svabhava. What to speak of Kshatriya, who protects others, right? Even Vaishyas is hard to find now. And then everyone wants just to be a Sudra. I mean, it is already like forecasted in Srimad Bhagavatam, like this yuga will have only Sudras. Janmana Jayate Sudra also is there, right? So the good thing, being born in Kali Yuga, like I was remembering Sasisikar Prabhu, he gave in class before this verse. He was saying the only good thing in this yuga is, like, we are following Srila Prabhupada, who is following his guru and his guru, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like that. So we're connected in a line. And there is also another example given, like when you need to get a ripe mango from a tree, you can't just like throw it down. It has to be passed, like from one person hand to hand. Otherwise, that mango will be like not eatable, almost, or something, right? So, like, just to get a ripe mango from a tree, you need a success and a chain of people. So this knowledge is also in Canto 1 compared to the ripened fruit of Vedic tree, right? So I'm just repeating these words to myself. I know you all are very knowledgeable, you know all those things, but I'm repeating. Don't get bothered with my words, but I'm repeating for myself. It's further. The Vedic wisdom gives us to understanding our relation with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and to acting accordingly in order to achieve the desired result of returning home, back to Godhead. But materialistic men do not understand this. They want to make a plan to become happy in a place where there is no happiness. For false happiness, they try to reach other planets either by Vedic rituals or by spacecraft. but they should know for certain that any amount of materialistic adjustment for becoming happy in a place which is meant for distress cannot benefit the misguided man, because after all, the whole universe with all this paraphernalia will come to an end after a certain period. Then all plans of materialistic happiness will automatically come to an end. The intelligent person therefore makes a plan to return home back to Godhead. Such an intelligent person surpasses all the pangs of material existence, like birth, death, disease, and old age. He's actually happy because he has no anxieties of material existence. But as a compassionate sympathizer, he feels unhappiness for the suffering materialistic men, and thus he occasionally comes before the materialistic men to teach them the necessity of going back to Godhead. All the bona fide acharyas preach this truth of returning home back to Godhead and warn men not to make a false plan for happiness in a place where happiness is only a myth. Rebirth. So Srila Prabhupada is a perfect live example of this compassionate sympathizer, right? And the only thing we can keep this Vedic knowledge intact is by giving it to others, or whatever we understand, when we repeat it to us ourselves, or when we try to tell others. That is the way we can preserve the knowledge what Srila Prabhupada is teaching us. Right? Srila Prabhupada repeating the words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are like, whatever you know, you need to tell others without speculation. That is what we're trying to learn from this Srimad Bhagavatam class every morning. Hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam is like associating with Srila Prabhupada. We get his association and then try to contemplate on that, implement in our life, and share with others also. So here, till today's verse, we are hearing about the indirect process, the indirect way of reaching the spiritual sky. And then after saying all these indirect ways, and now and further verses, Shukadeva Goswami will take us to the direct one, very interesting one. So hold tight, stay there to hear about more interesting verses. So with this, I'll like to stop here. I would like to hear from you if you have any further points or more realization on this verse, please. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Also, Baladi, understood?
Thank you very much, Mother Syamagori. It is good to hear again and again and again and again, to take to the direct process, take to devotional service, take to all the opportunities we have at the temple to take on that direct service. I was thinking about something, but it's gone out of my mind now. Hopefully it'll come back before the end of class. But one of the things I was thinking is the very first line in the purport is about Satyaloka not having death. In the translation, in the planet of Satyaloka, there is no, isn't Satyaloka also at the very top of this material world?
Yes.
So how come there is no death there?
Yeah, that is what I was saying. We cannot conceive that. There is death. There is death too.
Okay, but not the way we...
Yeah, we cannot conceive it. Like the small firefly or something, they have a like very small lifespan that we don't see them burn, like getting birth, dying, everything, but they will find them died already in the morning. So they can conceive our lifetimes. Similarly, like we can't conceive that many long years, lifetime will be there. That it's like
Yeah.
almost like saying almost like no death.
You're
Like,
right. Yeah, when you hear that number, I cannot even,
yeah.
436 is the only thing I remember, but what billions, millions, trillions, it's
The duration of
number.
see the number, I can't even say that number. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be
whatever that is.
yeah. This many numbers of years is there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like no death.
Yeah. Yeah. It is we read about foolish men, but I think sometimes how much even I am so foolish in attempting, we're still trying to be happy here too. Sometimes I ask the question, why does this happen to me? What did I do wrong? But of course I did something wrong. That's why I'm here suffering. And that, I used to hear the fish out of water story or play so many times, never realizing that I am the fish. I'm just thinking, oh, all these foolish people. But when I am trying to make myself comfortable here, which I do, I do try to make myself comfortable here, not realizing it is such a foolish effort.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, searching for happiness is our nature, because we are always Sat Chit Anand, our real identity. That's why we look for that real identity, but in wrong place.
Wrong place.
Haribo, David Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. I was wondering, the word stuck out, intelligent man makes a plan to go back to Godhead. And that just kind of stuck with me today. Like, what does it look like? I know, like, chanting our rounds in the morning, offering boga, taking prasadam, all that stuff are things that we do following the four regular principles. But what exactly would it look like in terms of making a plan? Like when we make a plan to go somewhere or to achieve something in the material world, we have goals, we have like things that show us that we're moving towards, following through with that plan or moving on and instead of just kind of spinning wheels in the same area. You know what I mean? What does that plan look like? I don't know if you can help me with that enough, but that's something that stuck out for me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's very wonderful. Like, like before going to anywhere, like for your destination, you're planning to travel or anywhere, you have to know first, like, what is that place like? What is the like climate there? Or what else things I need to take there? We need to know about that place first, right? So similarly, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and hearing from the realized devotees, we know about the place where we have to go. That is our home, back to Godhead. So first we need to know the place where, then only we get that desire to go there. Unless you know the place, you don't have that desire. Like, I came from Nepal. I'm not born here. So before coming here, like, I didn't even I knew about there is a country called this and this is nice and all those stuff. And then I will have that desire to go. When we hear about that place and then we get that desire, and then we get detachment from the one currently we are, wherever we are. Like when we know about that, oh, that is nice. Like there's no birth. Wow, there's no death. There's no pain. All those things we have here, it's not there, and it's completely blissful there. When we constantly hear about that, and then that image gets into our head subtly, and then we get prepared, like, okay, it's a place I need to go. I want to go there. And for that, we have to get the ticket. Now make the plan. Make the plan means you know the place first, and then then you book your ticket, and your booking ticket is like, go to the, nowadays you can do online, but I mean, you know, a process of getting a ticket is, anyone knows what is the ticket for us to go to Goloka? What is the ticket?
Devotional service.
More specifically, devotional service big. There are so many. Chanting, good. So Srila Prabhupada said, like, so sewing the bit back, he said, this is your ticket for going back to home, back to Godhead. So that's our ticket. And then we have to do it every day, non-stop, like constantly. That's our ticket to go back home, back to Godhead. And constantly, uninterruptedly, means that it makes us, like, there is a verse saying, like, whatever you remember at the time of death, you get that. So we are chanting every day in a prayerful mood to have that consciousness at the time of death. Who knows when we are going to die, right? Like in this chapter also, Parikshit Maharaj was a little anxious. He tells, he requests Sukadev Goswami that, I heard that you don't stay in someone's house for more than 5 minutes until someone is milking, and you drink that milk and you just go away. So indirectly he's saying, like, I wish you don't leave immediately and you impart some knowledge to me. To that answer, Sukadev Goswami is saying, what are you speaking? You have 7 days, 7 more days. You have like these many 7 days. But remember Khatwanga Maharaj? He had only a moment, a brief moment. And then he got Krishna conscious like that in a moment. And you have 7 days. That's a lot, he said. So that means, I mean, we don't know. Like we could have like just a moment more, or a few days or a few years. We have to make ourselves ready to go with the ticket in our hand. So, and then the mind should also be ready to go there. So we catch the flight to go back home, back to God. And the plan means, like, it's not like material plans we make. It's like just being Krishna conscious should be our plan, should be our aim also. That's our plan, and that's our aim too. Does that answer David Prabhu? Or Murari Gupta Prabhu has some points to add on that?
I don't remember how Bhakti Swami said it exactly, but he was just saying, like, you would see, like, you would ask yourself who is practicing this, like, who has been successful, like, you would see how they're doing it, and you would see, like, living examples of it. So you would want to, like, take that and just, like, and then use that as your guideline, and then you'd see how, like, how they have done it, and, like, who has been successful doing it, and then you would find out who to take guidance from, so you could also learn how to do it. And so you say that this is something that I want to do, that I can do, and then you see if there's people who have been successful at it and what the outcome of that has been for them. And that's like a basic place to start, you know.
Yeah.
But I can't remember how he says it in his book that well, but it's like that, yeah.
Yeah, very good point. Yes. That is how we learn in our material world also, right? Seeing others, seeing the scenes, even from the childhood, from when the baby learns from his mother and like senior siblings. We follow that similarly, yeah. Taking on the footsteps, that is what Srila Prabhupada is also saying, disciplic succession, we follow on the footsteps. Thank you. That was a very wonderful point. David Prabhu? You still have some more points, Mother Sati or Murari Prabhu? No. Okay.
No, sorry. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you for the point.
Thank you.
We always think that we want to be happy in this material world, and we plan so many things, and long way, in the future, 10 years, 5 years, like that. We don't know next spur of the moment what happens. Yeah. So that is really something I feel all the time. And we plan so many things long way. Yeah, I can keep this one, I can keep that one. And in 2-3 years, I can do this, I can do that. What is that next moment? We don't know.
Mm.
That's how I recently ended up in the hospital. I didn't think about it. And I came back again. But I don't have any idea that I'll go to hospital, I'll stay there, and something happens to me. Even going there also, I was not feeling it all. But I had something wrong in my heart. That who knows that? We don't know anything. So we plan a lot of things, but we don't know spur of the moment what happens. And everything just you have to leave abruptly and then go. If something comes in, abruptly everything will leave.
Yeah, but it's not easy. It's not easy, like, it's
It's
not easy then said. I mean,
it's not easy. I don't know, this time when I went to the hospital, I never felt anything. But same thing recently, I heard one of my relatives, he passed away. He was thinking that he will have this, he will have that. And he was chanting every day. He chants every day, 1 hour he sits at the deity's room and he chants and everything. And he didn't know what's going in his body. And he went to something and some surgery went, and then he was unconscious. From there he left the body. Those are the things. Sometimes there's a practical experiences, we're reading these books and practical experiences also, life experiences we have to feel. So that is one thing. More and more I read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and then I'm feeling that now. Nothing is, we think that everything, this material world, we're permanent and we settle down here. That is not the way. We don't know. So only things we pray God and chant and listening to these things, try to go to Goloka. That's all. That's mine. Thank you very much.
Practically, when we say like we should not be making plan for our being happy here, but we can't help it, because we have, like, even to go for somewhere, even if you're going to travel or something, you have to book a ticket way ahead. Otherwise it will get more expensive at the end, closer to the, to the time. So we have to have that plan. But again, going back to referring back to Bhagavad Gita's introduction, where Srila Prabhupada says, the way we have to work in this mortal world is like, he gives an example of a married woman who was married, but she has a boyfriend outside and she constantly thinks of meeting him, but she acts in such a way that her in-laws, even her husband, will not suspect her that she's having a boyfriend outside. So she does perfect household work. Perfect. Nobody even thinks that she has a boyfriend outside. So Srila Prabhupada gives us example like that, where we should be like that woman. We have to work our, like, if you're a householder or like whatever, student, whatever. So you have to do your responsibility perfectly. But in a mind, you have to try to be Krishna conscious, right? That is a plan, I should say. So inside you make your plan, and that, okay, yeah, I got this body, this world, so I have to do the duties, I have to do the responsibilities, but let me be Krishna conscious. That's why we have that prayer, no? Smriti Sinta Sudurvacha Vyat Sarvatmana Vishnu Madhyam Tvai Chestitam. It means like, let me remember, what is that? Smriti Sinta Sudurvacha Vyat Sarvatmana Vishnu Madhyam Tvai Chestitam. Means like, let my mind be thinking of you all the time. Let my prayer be always offered to you. And then I forgot the word, but That means like, let me be Krishna conscious. Let me
What shloka
think
is
of
this,
you.
Mataji? What shloka?
It comes in the forgiveness. Like, you know, when you do any services, like it is like praying for the forgiveness. The prayer comes. There is like some prayers, 6 or 7 prayers. Prayer. I don't know if I can find it here. Let me find and I'll just. Yes, I found it. Oops, where is it? Oh, yeah, this one. I quoted from the middle. That's why I lost the chat. You see this? Ignore all those other parts, though. These pictures and everything.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
स्थिति सेवा गति यात्रा स्मृति चिंता स्थितिर्वच भूयात् सर्वात्मना विष्णु मदीयं त्वयि चेष्टितम्. This is the translation. Let my normal condition be service. Let my movement be holy pilgrimage. Let my thought be remembrance of you. Let my words speak glorification of you. O Vishnu, let my activities with whole body, mind, and soul be engaged in you.
Okay. Thank you.
What is the headline for this?
It says purifying bodily elements.
Who is singing this?
This is actually when it comes for the when you do deity worship.
Oh, okay.
After the deity worship, there's a list of prayer you need to do for the forgiveness. You know, you never know like, what offenses you have done in the course of service.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
For that. Bhuta Suddhi. It is called Bhuta Suddhi. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Really very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Haribol.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, you know, like they hold these verses, you know, all these verses in this chapter is about how to control the mind, how, you know, so that how to become detached completely from this material world so that we can realize Krishna. But for, you know, there's so many different kind of yogas. This chapter is speaking mostly of Dhyan yoga, you know, the yogi, you know, who practice so many ways to control the senses, you know, have to become detached. But like us, we practice bhakti yoga, you know, we, you know, Srila Prabhupada is giving us a very, very, you know, easy. We have, not that in bhakti yoga we don't control the senses, in bhakti yoga also we control the senses, but the process is much easier than the other kind of yogi, you know. You know, in order for us to become completely detached from this material world, you know, and if we engage seriously in the process of bhakti yoga, you know, our senses will automatically be controlled, you know, and the process is just, you know, like you chant and remember Krishna all the time, you know, like chanting of the holy name. You know, they immediately imagine, you know, they have personal experience. Sometimes we fully absorb in this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra for a long time, like being in Kirtan, you immediately don't think of any other senses. That personal realization I've got, you know, and I have to do that. Imagine if one day we do that, we feel like that. If we do it regularly, we can easily, you know, control all the senses and always remember Krishna. That the goal, you know, like trying to realize, you know, link with Krishna through the heart. But Krishna is always there, you know, that if we use our senses just in devotional service, in any service, especially chanting and other kind of 9 process of devotional service, immediately we will be able to control the senses.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. And I was just asking, in anybody have experience, have they were able to control the senses just by engaging in bhakti yoga?
Hare Krishna. Can I say something? Recently, I found out that when we do chanting and when we are in the sitting position, our mind goes everywhere. But then, when we do chanting while walking, then we can control our mind. Actually, it does not go much anywhere. So that's what I have recently found out. So whenever I sit down, then I start walking in the room only. Then I see that the chanting is better when I'm walking. So I sit down when I'm tired, then chant, and then I stand up and start walking and then start chanting. So I feel that that's where chanting is better. You can control the mind that way. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
The main goal is to remember Krishna. But we can see for recommended practices like sitting down and you hear straight back straight, and 3 P's. Posture, and like sitting down straight with your either in a Padmasana or any easy sitting position. And then posture, pronunciation should be clear, thinking that when I am chanting there is somebody next to me, like might not be Lord Krishna, but someone else is sitting next to me. So for that person I need to say it loud and clear. Loud means like it should not be disturbing to others, but clear when we say the mantras. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Clear to ourselves, and then clear somebody is next to me, like that, but not intention to disturb others or distract others. And then the 3rd P is like prayerfulness. Like sometimes, like I don't know about others, but for me, it's like whenever I sit for chanting, like all the plans starts coming, like now I'll do this, I'll do that, like or oh, I should have called that person, oh, I should have texted that person, all those stuff starts coming slowly. So the prayerfulness should be there, like whenever that comes, like we can easily like, oh no, I should not be doing this, like let's focus on chanting again, and then again if the mind goes, like bring it back again, like that. So the 3 P's: posture, pronunciation, and prayerfulness. Always we should focus on that.
Yeah, actually, they said we have to recite some prayer. We always have to,
that would help.
In order for us to fix our mind, because mind, like you said, every time you start going, only when you're chanting, all kind of stuff come in the mind. And
like it is compared to that.
It is very good to choose a right place, sometimes if you're with other people and everything is very difficult to change, like too many things are distracting you. You have to look for some place where you're less distracted, maybe the best place I chant, I see, if I sit in front of the deities and there's not a lot of thing going on, and it's really, every time your mind wander, you just look at
and
the deities. Yeah.
That is why it is recommended to chant early in the morning, so that there is no distraction or very less distraction at all. Like your phone will be silent, everybody will be sleeping, and
really put the phone on silent mode.
Then
only we can.
Best to do early in the morning, so that your mind is like also, your body is rested nicely, and then it's different when you chant in the morning. And like comparing to myself, like if I chant in the morning, that day feels like, oh my god, so wonderful. If I don't do anything also, I feel like I accomplished everything. But the day I can chant in the morning, I have to come back and chant in the evening. It's very draggy day.
You're completely right, because the mode of passion and ignorance are predominant in the morning, the mode of goodness And Brahma Muhurt, they say that's the best time, You know, in the Acharya said that, like we can experience it also. We chant all the time, all the day. It take longer and your mind is more distracted.
So we have to have devotees association to push us for. Okay, it's a nice discussion actually.
Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks for giving me opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, David Prabhu. That was a very nice question, though.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Reminding us again to plan for our trip.
Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhobheva cha patitanam namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Antakoti best.